Welcome back to the EU LCS. I am now joined by the victorious Exileh. It was a little bit back and forth there for a while, but congrats on the win. Now, before we go any further in the interview, I feel like I am obligated in this meta to get you to say the words banner of command at least once. So if you could just say it and we get it out of the way and talk about literally anything else, that would be great.
Banner of command is quite broken, actually.
There you go. You've heard it here, folks. Very, very powerful. Now, moving on to your own performance and kind of the team, it felt like a very, very confident game from the Unicorns up until that one fight where it felt like they got a good engagement on you, they picked a few members off. Kind of talk to me about what went wrong in that scenario.
I think it was mainly that should have played it a bit more calmer and structured the teamfight a bit better, because I felt like they got what they wanted in the teamfight, which was to break through to our backline with Corki and Sjokz. They also found a really good flank. And I think we should have worked out a bit more and paid more attention to that, and then structure the team fight according to this. So we enable ourselves more counterplay.
In general, it feels like the team play for Unicorns is getting much better, even despite the late game hiccups there once or twice. What is kind of the key to success for you guys right now in terms of improving week to week?
I mean, it's kind of like just, yeah, we have quite clear ideas for a macro game, and I think in the start it was just shaky a bit, maybe, that we. I mean, there was a lot of information coming in that we have to put seed and develop into the game, and I think this just took time to become eventually good in the game, right?
I mean, it's looking much better. You guys are improving week to week. As a last question, tomorrow you guys are going to be going toe-to-toe with Schalke. How do you feel about that matchup? Where do you guys think you have an edge?
I think the last time against Schalke I was playing quite bad myself, and I think that was the main reason why we lost. However, tomorrow I'm going to try to do it better. And I also feel a lot more confident going into the game. So, yeah, I think we have an edge.
I mean, it's good to hear. That's going to be game 2 tomorrow. Congrats again on your win today. For now, we are going to send it back to the desk to take you into the next game between G2 and Splyce.
Thank you very much, Drakos. Exileh getting some confidence after that win over HUK, which is so important in the race for playoffs. And someone who stepped up for them again is Sjokz. He won the player of the game vote with 46% of the votes. Amazing. And you had your eye on Exileh. He wasn't even in the selection. We kind of, sabotaged you there. But I have to say, Sjokz is also a very good choice. He is consistently stepping up.
Yeah, the last couple of weeks have been insane for him. And he's been one of the key factors behind Unicorns very early.
Very, very important win for them. But now let's look ahead towards our next game between playoffs contenders Splyce and G2. Now, with the talent on the lineup of Splyce, it is a team that we expect to see in playoffs. For now, though, they've gone 1-1 every single week. And I have to ask the question, are they just decidedly average for now?
I do think so, and it's something that is surprising to me because I do think that the individual talent that they have on the roster is far superior to what they have shown so far. I think a similar argument could be made for Schalke, so we have similar teams in that regard, but Splyce do have the veterans in Odoamne, in Kobbe, in kaSing, who have all found success in the past, and they haven't so far.
They'll need to show a bit more in the race for playoffs if they want to land this playoff, so we wanted to take a look at how they've been playing so far, at their in-game identity, and at an ideal team composition for them, champions that they have run and that have worked very well for them so far. Now, I want to go first to the AD carry role, to Kobbe, because he's a guy that's been crushing it all split, and you do want to make him comfortable and set him up for success.
Kobbe's Caitlyn has been nothing short of spectacular so far because he has always been able to carry them late game, especially with the combination of Xilin, who we've not seen too much, but we have seen where they came back against Schalke, I believe, and completely destroyed them late game. Is something you want to see on that roster because I think that Kobbe still has that in him where he can always carry the late game and should be the fallback option for Splyce.
Fallback option or maybe the main option. We'll discuss that in just a second because first we want to look at what are the other factors that are at play for Splyce. We have Camille up for Odoamne. He is 3-0 on Camille. Camille hasn't been touched in this patch, so that's a good option. First, I'll let you talk about his strength overall, and then I'll ask you about tank or Camille or a carry option for Odoamne. Actually, you can answer that one straight off the bat.
I think Odoamne has always been someone that is really good at playing for the team, but he had to be enabled by the team too. So it's basically a give and go, where if the team allows you to play a certain style, a tank style, where you still get a lot of help in the early game, maybe similar to Source on Fnatic, where he's still being assisted at level 4, if that is to happen for Splyce, I think he should choose tank. But if he's relying on his individual performance, I think this Camille plus maybe the TF in the mid lane, basically support him in some kind of way, would be the preferred choice because Odoamne has a lot of carry potential and he has shown it on Camille.
He does have a lot of carry potential. You mentioned the TF as a choice for the mid lane. Why that and why the Zac for Xerxe?
Because Xerxe has been a player that has only been really transcendent in team fights, and I think that's a huge difference to a lot of other junglers. Similar to like Joko, for example, has been really aggressive in the early game. Xerxe hasn't shown that so far, and I want him to show that. As for Nisqy, his TF game was pretty good, and I do think putting him in on simple champions that don't really need to make like individual outplays whatsoever, but can rather assist lanes 100% in some kind of way, are the choice for him.
So this is a team composition that will work very well for him. Kobbe is an absolute carry, and then that top side of the map needs a bit of work. So if you were to give them advice what they should work on to get into playoffs, is it put all their money on Kobbe, put all their resources into Kobbe, or is it maybe help that carry potential of Odoamne, help him unlock that?
I think double down on Kobbe. I think it's way easier for them because I think they have shown in the past a lot more promise in that regard, and Odoamne has been shining a bit with the Camille, obviously, but you're not always going to get that carry pick, especially now when the banner of command meta is kind of existing, where you have a second item banner of command. You're not going to find a lot of carries in the top lane. You're going to find the likes of Sion and Cho'Gath, so doubling down on Kobbe is the way to go.
Is the way to go. Do you see this Splyce lineup make playoffs?
They should and they will make playoffs.
They
That's
will
my
make
pick.
playoffs. Well, if they win versus G2, they would take a huge step towards those playoffs, and that is the opponent up on the stage for them today. Now, G2 has been doing really well. Obviously, they dropped the match of the week versus Fnatic last week, but they're still very strong. And for them, it is really the top side of the map that is performing the best. Wunder and PerkZ, together with Jankos, are showing up big week after week.
The individual masterminds, to be fair, I always had my doubts about Wunder because I didn't quite sure how strong he was on Splyce and how much he actually carried. But on G2, he has had insane stats for the top lane. I think he has been first in a lot of ways, and we saw the medic dissecting numbers where he was the first in the MVP race, at least by the numbers, and he's still shown. He's the first in the CSD of 15, and same for PerkZ. And just his individual powers is something you should keep playing towards. And the bot lane also hasn't shown the promise so far that the top side of the map has.
No, exactly. And also PerkZ, to mention it again, the last remaining member on G2, and he's been showing up tremendously. You mentioned all the different factors of the team, so let's take a look at what we thought would be the ideal team comp for G2 as they have been playing so far. As said, things that can make an influence for the solo laners, for PerkZ and for Wunder, we're going to see in a second. But then for the jungle, we have Zach as well. Now, Zach is... Oh, it's going to come up in just a second. Zach is obviously a really strong champion, but we wanted to highlight Jankos once again.
Yeah, he's been the only Zac player that has actually used Zac ultimates in a lot of creative ways, where he flashes behind the opponent, knocks him slightly back so they can't flash over the wall, for example. And that's something that's so creative about Jankos, that when he's actually mastering a champion, he's completely mastering it, and it's above all the other junglers in the USCS in that regard.
So top side of the map, Jankos great, PerkZ great, Wunder great, and that's where it comes then to the bottom side of the map. What is so good for Splyce is not fantastic yet for G2. You picked Varus and Tahm Kench to kind of mediate that, I would say.
Yeah, Varus is pretty broken, I think, in a lot of ways, where he's actually able to play at a CS disadvantage and still do a lot of damage because he has percentage HP damage on his W, and it basically enables the solo lanes to still be effective even if he's behind. As for Wadid, Tahm Kench is perfect. He can roam to other lanes, assist the 1-3-1 that has been carrying G2 so far, and that's the way to go for him too.
Yeah, as a side note, obviously Zoe is what we chose for PerkZ in the mid lane. He will
Goodbye.
have to go to something else now. But then finally, with this system that G2 has been running, despite that loss versus Fnatic, how do you feel they're doing? At what level are they now so close to playoffs?
I like the level. I think they're pretty insane right now. I think the loss against Fnatic didn't quite hurt my opinion of them at all. I think the late game decision making is still kind of iffy, and they've shown that, but if they work upon that, their early to mid game is crisp, and they win a lot of it.
Is there a chance they lose to Splyce today?
I don't think so. It's 80-20. Let's say 80-20 they win.
80-20, those are big odds for G2, but Splyce, they need a win for playoffs, and G2, they look to stay on course to secure their playoff bye. Medic, take it away.
Thank you very much, Sjokz. Good evening, everyone. I'm Aaron Medic Chamberlain, joined here by Martin Deficio Lunga. A budget amazing, to say the least.
Yes, truly, the budget amazing. He did a great job.
He did.
We got to give him that one. We're going to do a poor job. And therefore, we're not
Probably.
even going to talk about the game. We're just going to talk about each other.
I like your glasses.
I like your glasses, too.
Thanks.
And you used to be a doctor.
I did.
That's pretty
you
impressive.
did not used to be a doctor.
I did not.
A chef, however.
Sadly,
maybe.
not as impressive.
No, not quite. But your chefing skills do look pretty good.
Yes, I can make one thing.
Hot dogs.
There you go.
You know where else you can find hot dogs? Copenhagen. Tickets are on sale.
Oh.
Make sure you jump over to lolesports.com, pick up yourself some tickets for those finals. We are just waiting to get on into Champion Select. Splyce versus G2. And Deficio, we had a debate when we were in our meeting throughout the middle of the week, and I said, you know, G2, not the best team in EU anymore because Fnatic beat them last week, and you were quite ardent that G2 could still be the best team.
I just felt like after one game, we couldn't 100% say if Fnatic or G2 were the best team. I think we might have to wait for BO5s before we can 100% lock it down. Could potentially be a final, of course, in Copenhagen. So that would be pretty hype. Fnatic, of course, seeing as they won, they're number 1 in the standings. So for now, I guess we have to give it to them.
But we have to see how they adapt to the patch as well, because we're on 8.4.
Oh, this should be a good
First
Fnatic
two
patch.
games were very interesting with the Banner of Command and the Baron minions. A lot has changed on this patch. Tracker's Knife removed, Baron minions coming in, the AP itemization changes as well. I have to see how G2 and Splyce react to that as we get on into picks and bans. Trundle banned first up by Splyce.
Oh, I wonder if Splyce wants to first pick a tank.
Like a Sion?
For them. It could be a Sion who's, for some reason, dropped down to the second pick phase in the 2 games we've seen so far. He should get picked much earlier. He is extremely strong at the moment. Looking, though, at the bans we've had on this patch so far, 8.4. Camille's been banned in both games. Ryze been banned in both games. Galio been banned in both games. They're all 3 available still in this one. Of course, Skarner, also one of the guys getting banned every single game so far. I like the kaSing ban, especially when you play against Jankos, who can go back to a more early game style in this meta without the Tracker's Knife, and kaSing is the best of the aggressive junglers when it comes to really abusing the lack of vision.
You have to remember, like, Jankos known as the First Blood King for a very long time because of his early game jungling. Now with less vision on the map, we'll have to see if he steps up once again.
Ooh.
Cassiopeia ban here from Splyce.
So the reason they banned this here is because they're thinking, okay, G2 might try and bait us into having to choose between Ryze and another really powerful pick. So they banned the Cassiopeia to try and force G2 to ban Ryze, because that could have been one of the picks against it. So on Splyce's side, they're like, yeah, we actually see what you're doing. We don't want to get caught in a little trap where if you first pick the Ryze, you still get the Cassio plus maybe the Sion, and then everything sucks. But in this case here, Splyce will go for Xayah Rakan, something that was not picked in the first 2 games. And when I'm talking to people around the scene, a lot of them seem to really, really value Xayah Rakan now because it's a really good aggressive combo.
But you give up the Sion.
That is risky.
Camille's already out, so that's the top lane is done. You get rid of the Sejuani as well. That goes over to Jankos.
Hey, worst case, you pick Cho'Gath top for Odoamne, and you still have, a fine tank-v-tank matchup.
But he hasn't played well on tanks this split.
This is the change, Medic. This is it. Give the man a chance. Galio open in this one. As we said, banned in the first 2 games, and of course the Rakan. This does mean Splyce will not get the Cho'Gath if G2 decides to ban it away. I actually think Xayah Rakan with Cho'Gath is pretty insane for get super aggressive in the mid game with Xayah Rakan and then early Baron with Cho, but not in this case. Unless G2 leaves it open and they're like, we don't care.
It is possible. We're looking at 80 carries here for G2 still left up, and their mid laner. Splyce top and jungle we have to expect. Galio, you assume, would go towards mid.
And G2 grabs that Braum because it is a good answer against Xayah Rakan, and they know if they leave it open or if they don't pick support here, it gets banned away. So they're like, okay, we got to try and just salvage on the bottom side against Xayah Rakan. And also when there's a Galio, because then around level 6, Rakan will engage. You can't stop the engage very well. And then Galio will fly down and smack you in the face, and it sucks. Shen ban as well coming in as one of the things you can pick top in tank-v-tank matchup and then play around the bottom lane. So that is being removed by G2. And I still wonder about Cho'Gath. If they don't ban it, I will predict that as the pick for Odoamne, but I could, of course, be completely wrong.
You never know. The Zac band taking another jungle pick away from Xerxe. Could pick up the Volibear, which was buffed on this patch.
Just give me Jax.
Yeah. I mean, that's less exciting to me than Volibear, but I agree.
True.
Jax is probably slightly more meta. Splyce maybe look towards another AD carry ban here, because Hjärnan has only played the Tristana, the Varus, and the Ezreal thus far this split. Could put him on the lowest of those, probably going to be the Varus.
I like banning Ezreal just because of the mobility that he does offer against what is a very strong engage composition with Rakan and Galio. So I think that Ezreal ban is really good. If you are G2, like Varus is available, which is a strong pick in the current meta. However, there's no dashes, so you might be like, okay, this is going to be super tough to play against this kind of backline dive. So Caitlyn is a little bit safer in this situation here. Let's see what happens for Splyce top and jungle. So as we said, Cho'Gath and Jax, 2 viable options for them on their side. And Ornn is also available, despite some nerfs that happened to him here. If you want a tank that offers more engage, you can go Ornn.
And the rest of the team already has a lot of that engage as well.
Hey,
but follow up, the Cho'Gath. Great predictions, Deficio.
Thank you, thank you.
showing why you deserve to still be a color caster here in EU, even with Amazing rising through the ranks.
Oh, it's not good. VoD coming back next week. Amazing, looking great.
Competition.
I'm feeling
So
threatened at the moment.
Splyce will be going towards their jungler here as well. It's going to be
Xerxe.
Ivern for Xerxe.
Dirty boy.
He's played it once before. We'll have to break down the mechanics of that a little bit more because G2 still have their mid laner to pick.
All right, let's see. It is against the Galio, so Corki is an option for PerkZ. So is Talia also something I think we will start seeing more of in this meta, despite not seeing it today. Actually works fine against the Galio, but in this case here for G2, Azir was left open, and despite losing some early game power last patch, still super, super strong. We've already seen him played with a little change to the item build, where you can get, you know, a Luden's Echo fairly early on after your Nashos and Oblivion Orb coming in if you want a bit more magic pen in the early game. So we can talk more about that in the game. G2 running extremely strong teamfight and comp. Same thing, funny enough, on Splyce's side. I just think Splyce have a little bit more option in the early game, especially around the bottom lane.
Splyce haven't really been an early game team up until now. They had one game in week 5 where they played the early game really well, but their early and mid game tends to fall down a little bit. G2, statistically one of the best early game teams in the league. Have a 2,000 gold lead on average at that 20-minute mark. I really want to see how this goes because I worry for Splyce having an earlier game or a composition that can do things in the early game, whether G2 will just match up to them too well.
Yeah, G2's been one of the best early game teams in Europe, mainly because Wunder and PerkZ do so well in the early game. It's not about the bottom lane at all, but Hjärnan and Wadid, they can't afford to fall behind against a Xayah Rakan combo with a Galio backing them up.
So that's where we're looking. We're looking bot lane,
Definitely
Ivern,
bot lane.
Galio, get Daisy in there, make it a 5v2 if you can, maybe bring Odo down from the top lane as well.
Yeah, because we know that Ivern loves to just walk into a lane, put Daisy there and say, we're going to kill this tower now, there's nothing you can do because we bring multiple members. And then later, maybe there's a banner.
Can you banner Daisy? That would be incredible if you could.
Gotta put on that cannon, man.
Splyce versus G2. Have to remember as well that Splyce are still competing for playoffs here. They're 6-6. The rest of their schedule isn't too tough, but winning against G2 here would set them up in a very good spot.
Yeah, every single team still competing for that playoff spot. Only Sjokz seems to be a little bit further down after losing to Unicorns earlier today. Sorry for the spoiler if you're checking out the VoDs or you didn't see the first game.
I don't feel you're that sorry, Deficio.
I'm actually not sorry at all, because I expect you to watch every single game live. Never miss a game of EU LCS.
G2 going for a little bit of an invader. I feel like I could have bounced off that a little bit better. I could have been just as excited as you are.
You could have tried. I think it's fine you didn't. You don't always have to bounce with the weird comments we make to each other. You can try and make a point now, and I will see if I can bounce on
Let's do that. Let's do that. So G2 went for some early vision control over this red side jungle. They know they're against an Ivern. Are they trying to shut down Xerxe in the early game? I knew this was coming. I knew you were not going to say anything afterwards. You're a scumbag, Deficio.
It's fine. It's fine. Let's see. Yes, I believe getting early wards down against a jungler that drops really low in the early game and who needs to do this weird challenging thing on the camps when he wants to kill them and set up multiple of them. Invading him early game is typically very smart. Now Xerxe, he is pinging towards enemy red buff. He can use his smite and instantly grab it and still walk out, so it's not the end of the world. But G2 will, of course, know that he's doing this. So we might see Jankos just take another camp on the bottom side, maybe gank mid lane early in case Galio is pushing too much.
Ends up just being a jungle trade, doesn't it? And Xerxe, of course, can't really take.
Yeah, but now he can't take more, and that's why invading is so good, because he can only get one camp from you this early. Yeah, he can set up a Raptor camp, but there's plenty of time for Jankos to go up top side and grab that camp for himself. So I like the start. Jankos not too afraid of the counter jungling Ivern, not exactly, when he can always set up multiple camps, can always steal one. That is effective on Ivern. Like, you're very quick getting the one camp and out, and then you're kind of like, oh, this sucks. And here's Jankos.
Yeah. He's going to say that. He'll realize that Xerxe was there. We always knew it anyway.
So he's on his way. Smite not ready yet, though.
I don't think he's going to be able to steal this one away. He might look for a gank on towards PerkZ in that mid lane, though. Nisqy on the Galio here. He's only played it once already in the split. They did win that game. Trying to push PerkZ back, who got one of his favorite champions in the Azir.
A Galio for Nisqy, perfect. You know, he's looked the best when he played Champions, where it's a lot more about roaming to the side lanes than him winning on his own. So getting something like this, the fact he was left open in the draft is a little bit surprising with how strong it is in the current meta. Of course, there's no Camille to pair it with, so that one was at least removed. I still think with Xayah Rakan, if it is executed properly, especially in the mid game, you can force so many plays with Xayah Rakan in the side lanes where Galio can always follow.
I want to speak about mid-game as well, because if you have watched our first 2 games, you'll have seen a lot of play around the Baron, a lot of play around securing that objective, getting a banner of command and pushing in lanes. Here, Odoamne have the Cho'Gath, so they can look for an early-ish Baron.
Yeah, 100%.
is a lot better there. But Wadid has done something interesting and taken the minion dematerializer here in the bottom lane, and I know that is something that you commend.
Yeah, because what you can do in this meta, especially if you have a scaling comp that wants to just go further into the game, is you can save some stacks on the dematerializer, wait until the enemy team gets the potential Baron, buffs up the minion with the banner of command, and then use the dematerializer to just one-shot it. That buys you a bit of time, and if you are G2 with this draft, like, late game is where you are looking with PerkZ on Azir. You know in the early game it is difficult when you're against the Galio to force plays. You can't really kill the Galio himself. And going to the side lanes is always risky because, yeah, he has this great ulti that just kind of turns it around. So if you're on G2 side, with this draft, you are fine going later into the game and rely on 2 long-range carries and then 3 tanks right in front of them. We'll have to see, though, if they can outplay Splyce early on. The Ivern, as we talked about, not exactly the man who ganks everything. Wants to get Daisy, though, and just take down your turrets.
So we are looking at that level 6. That's really where the action's going to start to explode. It is a Splyce member who's paused. It's kaSing.
Is it the pillows?
It might be the pillows, but I heard on the Euphoria podcast that they've actually lowered the desks.
It's true. However, I think I saw Peter Dunn run on stage with a pillow and gave it to kaSing, despite him telling us he no longer used the pillows.
Where did he tell you that?
On the Euphoria podcast.
Oh, where's that available?
Oh, it is available on SoundCloud, iTunes, and YouTube.
That's exciting,
Deficio. Yeah, it is. And I also see a pillow behind kaSing, so I believe he lied to us.
Maybe it's a lumbar support rather than a height thing, supporting his lower back, which is very important.
It's actually up near his head right now.
Oh, well, that's still lumbar.
Fair enough.
Still,
fair enough.
Still support for your back, at least.
All right, still. I want to see what Xerxe wants to do, because I did say before that it's not always about ganking on Ivern, but I think when Nisqy's level 6, Xerxe could set up a gank. If you land a Q, you know, you fly in with the Galio, there's something. This is an early roam, level 4, sneaky.
Nisqy's pushed in that mid lane. PerkZ unable to answer at the moment.
Ramna's pretty low on mana, though.
Sneak in. Wunder there. Odoamne with the chase. Wunder's going to look to try and get himself away, but Nisqy, flash, taunt. There's the Winds of War, and Wunder has no way to escape. Splyce get first blood.
Nice little roam here, Nisqy. Surprising G2, they had no vision.
Surprising us as well, because that's not what Nisqy is known to do.
But again, hey, when the man can go to other lanes and make something happen, he's been doing a good job. This was a nice first blood for Splyce, all set up by Nisqy. No flash used by Wunder. Doesn't matter, he got the first blood.
Nisqy had to use his flash. Has already used his teleport to get back into the lane with the double Doran's ring as well. But Splyce with the early advantage after criticized their early game in the pick and ban. Now,
let's see.
Jankos is waiting around the corner. That pink ward is going to fall. No zombie ward to replace it.
Kind of hoping that maybe Xerxe was here and he would fight the 2v2, but didn't happen. Wunder would be sad. First time he dies pre-15 minutes.
And it's good for Odoamne as well, who early on in the split really struggled in the early game. Low forward percentage, was losing his lane, falling behind in CSD. Now is in a much better position as Jankos and Xerxe meet up in the jungle. The Icebreaker comes down, but Jankos just going to walk away from this one. Root caller, there's the chasing from Nisqy. Can try and get the taunt off here as well. Jankos flashes away, but still caught out, and Odo's on his way to chase. There's another kill for Splyce.
The Splyce early game. Everything is around Nisqy. This was Xerxe who set it up after Jankos was behind him in the jungle. Suddenly jumps out, finds the Ivern. Thought he was safe, but then, of course, when you connect that Q onto a target and you click on it as a melee champion, well, you fly right in there, right next to it. Nice little setup that I think Jankos did not expect, because otherwise they could have flashed earlier to get out. And then suddenly, max range taunt, gets him, he dies. And 2 early kills for Splyce now. Very important. Nisqy part of both of them, as we highlighted before.
Nisqy now level 6 as well. No 6 on Kobbe and kaSing down in that bottom lane, but I'm sure they'll be building up towards it.
Let's see around mid.
He's going to go in once again. PerkZ does have the flash, won't use it. There's the root caller that cleanses away. Nisqy still on the chase. Flash eventually comes out from PerkZ, and it's all Splyce in this early game. Nisqy and Xerxe working incredibly well as a team.
So good start for them. We had the graphic before with Odoamne. One thing to highlight is Splyce early game started playing more around him. In the start, they kind of left him alone. They're like, yeah, we hate you, Odoamne, stay up there. And then he just died like 5 million times, and we all flamed him. But now, they're like, huh, maybe if we do help our top laner early, he can actually do well. And he can play more aggressive in lane. So, Peter Dunn, the mastermind, figured that out. And we've seen a much better Odoamne the last few weeks. And it's been important because they couldn't just rely on going late game with Kobbe. There wasn't enough win conditions for a team.
And it was almost as if they were reacting before this patch came in, because as you say, the win condition of late game Kobbe isn't great, but also when you have to play around mid game, when you have to play around early game because the patch dictates it, it definitely helps that they've started getting that ball rolling.
Now, let's see what happens here, because they just gave red buff to Kobbe. Xerxe should hit level 6 very soon. They do have the Galio ulti. They can now swap it to the bottom side and start playing very aggressive towards this tier 1 tower. Also chose to try and go dive the Sion with Cho'Gath and, of course, the Galio. But when you pick the Xayah Rakan, you often want to try and get them ahead.
G2 are trying to react to this as well. You can see that Wadid and Jankos went into this bottom side jungle. They'll get a little bit of vision down to try and catch out any roams that come out from Nisqy.
And of course, without the Tracker's Knife, we can see on the map there are not as many wards. Some people can react and say, just keep your trinket wards, and it's fine, you still have enough, but it's not the same as the Tracker's Knife. First of all, these are on cooldown, so you gotta wait until the charge up. They don't last as long in the early game. It's only 1 minute at level 1, and then kind of scales up towards 2 minutes at the end. So the wards are nowhere near as effective as just recalling and instantly getting 2 charges on the Tracker's Knife that then will give you a full duration ward that you can just keep doing over and over. The trinket wards can't keep up, so it just gives you way less vision on the map, and it makes it a lot harder to ward up one side and track everything. Nisqy, there's a control ward on the bottom side. We get the play we talk about. Xerxe gets level 6, he goes bot lane, Nisqy is around, and here's the engage.
There's the engage, double knock up, here's the hero's entrance as well, and G2 are falling to pieces. Hjärnan goes down, Wadid has to flash away, but the taunt is big, and G2 fall twice in the bottom lane.
Splyce here doing a very good job reading the new meta, knowing play more towards the early game. That's where you can get advantages. Control ward was placed around mid, so Nisqy could just walk down the river. Xerxe got his level 6, as we highlighted it multiple times, and instantly they strike bot lane. That's going to be first turret for the team as well. And now there's a Drake they can grab after, then they can swap top side with Xayah Rakan. I really like this setup from Splyce, and I love the fact that the moment they actually have a chance to pull off the play on bottom side, they do it. Level 6 for Rakan and Xayah, level 6 for Xerxe, Nisqy's ulti is ready, and they strike instantly. G2, they knew this was happening. Medic, you highlighted, they're warding on bottom side, they're trying to prevent this. Not enough vision to stop this, and it's really hard to react against the Galio and Rakan.
And what a transformation it is for Splyce and G2 as well, because last week against Fnatic, G2's early game and mid game was actually incredibly strong. You know, they got to the 30, the 40-minute mark, and they were ahead in goal.
Oh, yeah.
And then it all just collapsed at the end because Fnatic had the later game stronger composition, whereas here...
Severe Victor.
Yeah, G2 are just falling behind in the early game, which is not something we expect from them. 2,000 gold, Splyce lead by now.
Yeah, they've been winning so many early games so far this split. Wunder's always been up like 15, 20 CS in his lane, but because he got a little early gank against him, he can't really win this lane today. Therefore, we have to look at other members on G2 to get the early advantage. PerkZ is winning in CS because Nisqy keeps leaving the lane, but I'll take the 4 assist on my Galio compared to the CS on the other side, because the Galio is getting other lanes ahead. There's the Mountain Drake they can grab. After this, you can go top side and play around that one. G2 trying to swap top as well with Hjärnan and Wadid, but that's fine for Splyce. They can match the 2v2 and make the exact same play we just saw again.
So good from Splyce up until this point. They get the mountain, they go towards the top side. You can see G2 have already reacted by bringing Hjärnan and Wadid up there as well. But if Splyce are able to get the advantage here, then Rift Herald's on the card, then Deep Vision's on the cards. And at that point, Baron's starting to spawn. You get Baron, you get Banner of Command. It's basically a free win right now.
I mean, according to game 1, yeah. Game 2 showed us you can try and fight back.
Still won.
It's true. It's true. Sadly for G2, despite knowing that Mountain Drake would die, the swap and Jankos had to recall meant that they actually weren't in time to maybe try and trade for Rift Herald, so they would get something at least. Now they risk losing the Rift Herald as well because Splyce are just much stronger. Gank him in.
Slide in, Nisqy there with the Idol Duran. Here's the Hero's Entrance to get Nisqy out. And Glacial Prism's going to follow them up though. G2 going for the chase. Nisqy flashes. It's a lot used by G2 to try and catch out the Galio.
Oh, the stun almost came in time on Nisqy. In the end, he got out. Important for Splyce, but there's no Galio ulti now. So they can't play as aggressive on the side lanes. And Kobbe will get some damage, but then we'll have to back away when Hjärnan and, of course, Wadid shows up. Let's see if G2 can turn the tides. Because now they do have a bit of advantage with PerkZ being stronger than a Galio without ulti available. And this Rift Herald might still be something both teams can fight for.
Still 2 minutes on that Galio, as opposed to only a minute on PerkZ's Emperor's Divide. He still has the flash as well, so maybe, as you say, they'll look to play around the Rift Herald. I want to come back to a point that we made about the Baron and the Baron-empowered minions as well, because you said it's not always a free win. H2K were able to fight in the last game, but they could fight because they had strong, hard engage.
Yeah.
They could get onto Splyce. This G2 composition has semblance of that. They've got the Sion, they've got the Sejuani. They can actually engage those fights if they need to.
Yeah, it's gonna require perfect execution for PerkZ mainly. Because, like, Azir likes to kite back, but they can't do that if they're losing Baron and losing to a cannon minion. They have to then engage, and Azir needs to play aggressive with sliding in and shoot. We talked about a potential fight around Rift Herald. PerkZ is around. Sion is coming with ult. They're gonna fight this.
Onslaught's on its way, but they're looking for the engage off towards the top side. Splyce just want to catch out with Wadid. Here's the TP in as well from the Cho'Gath in the bottom lane. G2 caught between two sides of this fight. Jankos is low, the smite. Rift Herald goes down, secured by Splyce. But look at the damage on kaSing. The heal just about keeping alive. PerkZ shuffles away. Xerxe down towards the bottom side of this fight as well. And Wunder now is caught in an awful position as Splyce can chase him down. They'll secure the kill on this as well. They get the Rift Herald. That is great stuff from Splyce. 5-0 at the 14-minute mark. They are looking unstoppable.
Wunder can't even get close enough to do anything here. That was so big because G2 had a chance to contest an objective. We talked about Nisqy not being able to use ulti to a side lane and then win it before they could kill Rift Herald. They had, of course, PerkZ sitting there ready to take the fight. That Wunder moving up with ult. G2 had kind of everything ready to try and contest it, but then they still lost it. Not only did they lose Rift Herald, they also lose the fight. We have to see the replay with Wunder coming in at the bottom. He's gonna be here first because the TP is gonna take time from Odoamne. And the first engage is not successful from Splyce. Xerxe flashes out, but now G2 are completely split up. And this Rift Herald, oh, the smite came in way too early from Jankos.
I think it was for health more than anything else, because he might have died without it.
You're probably right with that one. Still, sucks for him. He just ends up setting it up for Kobbe to grab it, and G2 just barely brings any damage at this point in the game. The Caitlyn did not get to win her lane. She sits there with just the BF sword and a bit of attack speed, and hard for them to win the fight, and they lose it. And Splyce, they can snowball.
Can they snowball though?
Yes, they can.
From this position, they should snowball. Their composition is good for it. As a lineup, they should be able to snowball, but Splyce have struggled to snowball in the past. And as you can see here, their mid-game tends to be weak.
Splyce have drafted for late game so often. They've committed to the late game so often. So even when they did well early, they couldn't actually use it for much because they're still kind of, hey, we need 3 items, guys. So it would really be rough for them. They would make mistakes in the mid game as well. kaSing talked a lot about it when we chatted with him there in the podcast about how they just do these random mistakes, like out of nowhere. They're just like, hey, why did we do this? This was horrible. This game, when you run with Rakan, I feel like the way to start a fight is a lot easier because he's so quick. And you have follow-up from Cho'Gath, Ivern, and the Galio, so Splyce should be able to snowball this game. They even have Cho'Gath ult for Baron. Like, they have all the tools to make it easier to snowball. If they can't do it in this game, whew, then it's looking really bad for Splyce.
Looking bad for G2 at the moment, though. They are 3,000 gold behind as we come past that 16-minute mark. It's the most deaths they've had at 15 minutes this split as well. After that loss to Fnatic, we wanted them to bounce back a little bit, but they've not managed to.
No, it's been a very, very rough start, and everything's been around Nisqy involved one way or the other, and knowing where to go to actually make a play, first top, then bot. Wadid, you talked about the dematerializer.
He's used it all?
He said he only has 1 stack left. I'm not a fan of that because I think getting that extra little bonus damage by using the additional 2 charges after you've hit 1 of each minions He should have saved it, man, because they're gonna need it against the minion later.
Vedius puts up a pop quiz. Can Daisy block the Sion ulti? I wonder if Riot Deficio knows. Well, it's a good question, Vedius, and I think that Deficio would definitely know that sort of thing. If not, I know that Amazing knows, so maybe I should have been casting with Amazing instead. I'm definitely not filling time right now as Deficio Googles this and tries to find out.
Daisy can block the Sion ult.
You haven't actually Googled it, though, so now you're just guessing.
No.
I think this is just a blind guess.
It can block Sion ult.
I'm like 99% sure it can't.
It can.
We'll see. We'll see. Hopefully we'll see. If not, tweet at RightDeficio, at MedicCasts. Tell us that we don't deserve to cast League of Legends if we don't know these micro interactions or anything along those lines.
It could also...
It can't!
It could have been a bug. It was a bug.
Oh, it was a bug, was it?
Damn it! Because you used to be able to do it.
You Googled it and you got given the wrong
It was
answer.
a bug. It got fixed.
You just can't trust what you read on the internet.
Oh, I know. I instantly Googled it, and the first line said, FFS, don't let Daisy block Sion ult. And I was like, there we go. That's probably why Betty's trying to trick me there. And then I didn't actually click on it. And when I clicked on it, first comment was, it's a bug. I'm like, oh, whoops.
Well, that's a shame. Anyway, Splyce did get their second Mountain Drake while we were laughing at your ineptitude, and now G2...
I am not an Ivern expert, I admit that.
That is understandable. I don't think many people are. 2 minutes left on that Baron. No banner of command yet, Deficio, but
Odoamne sick to my stomach.
Odoamne has an Aegis of the Legions that could go there. Abyssal Mask on that Galio mid. He hasn't actually got that much gold because he's behind in CS, but he's got those 5 extra assists, so he's just going tanky. He's just helping out the team here on that Galio.
Well, as long as we get the banner, around 20 minutes, when Splyce will start the Baron and kill the Baron, everything is good. That's all we need to see from Splyce. And then we need to see a Daisy in front of a Sion ult. Just 100% proof.
Okay, just to make sure that Reddit wasn't teaching us wrong. Splyce, we talked about their schedule coming up. We talked about their battle for playoffs. They're 6-6 at the moment, but they have probably the easiest upcoming schedule of any team, especially if they beat G2 today.
Yeah, because if you look at it, like H2K's down the bottom, not looking as hot as they did week 5, just when Sjokz came in. Giants, we just saw get completely stomped by Rocket earlier today. And Vitality are currently on a massive losing streak. So if we just consider the win-losses of these teams over the last few weeks, it's in the negative, combined with the 5 teams. So Splyce are currently looking like a team who should be able to lock in playoffs, but it is the LCS 2018. Every single team can't beat every single team.
Usually Fnatic wins if that happens.
See, I was going to set that up, but then I realized the start of it was actually not what it was supposed to be.
That's okay.
In EULCS, everyone beats everyone,
Googled it
but in the end, Fnatic wins.
Okay. So.
Hey, Skin Spotlight.
Guys, we use Skin Spotlights. Great little app.
You know why we did it? It was to take some focus away from me and all the wrong statements I'm making, so people can look at Skin Spotlight instead and talk about that. Thank you, EU production team. What are you now Googling? That is
okay, apparently...
Is it still there? Can you still do it?
Okay, so it wasn't actually a bug originally.
Oh.
They recoded the ultimate summons when the Shaka rework came out to not count as champions. So it wasn't a bug. At the time, it could block it, but then they recoded it all to make sure that
so I was half right.
Yeah, I'll give you half right. In the same way that we don't have elemental drakes anymore, we have drakes that give gold. You were correct in that way.
Hey.
Basically, you had old knowledge because you've been casting for a long time. You don't learn the new things.
And when was the last time? When was the last time we had Ivern versus Xayah?
That's true.
See?
Okay.
That's where my knowledge was from.
Okay. Splyce setting him around the Baron Deficio. Let's bring it back to the action because Splyce are in a superb spot at the moment. Banner finished on Odoamne. Redemption finished on kaSing. Splyce. It's actually on course for a perfect game versus G2.
Yeah, I love the adaptation to the new patch from Splyce here, knowing to draft for them early to mid game, get a composition where you can force a play around your dual lane, which is your strongest lane at the moment, and then Cho'Gath for early Barons, with the Banner of Command, of course, coming in. If we do get the early Baron from Splyce's side, we can talk about ways for G2 to stop the insane siege of the one cannon minion that will rule the world.
I think, though, if you're on G2's side, you're not too worried. Not maybe this game is done. You know, maybe you might lose this game, but you're 8-4. You'd be 8-5. You have a track history of not reacting to patches too quickly. All you need is a couple more wins to get yourself to playoffs, and then you still have some time.
I mean, they should be in playoffs.
Yeah, G2 should 100% make playoffs.
It's about locking top 2, though. You always want to get that instant, you know, bye towards the semi-final.
Yeah.
Especially if you are G2 and Fnatic, who looked better than most of the teams in the LCS so far. Now we get the early Baron we talk about. Cho'Gath is there. G2 knows they have to react. They can't just let this Baron go in the hands of Splyce.
Yeah, Wunder's TPing in already. From him, but there goes the Baron low. It's secured by Splyce, and now Wunder in that front line. Kobbe dances off towards the back. G2 trying to press forward, trying to find an advantage here. Odo's going to flash the wall, and Splyce should be able to get out. Glacial Fissure connects, but cleansed away by Nisqy. Splyce get back underneath their tower.
Once again, Splyce knows exactly what to do in this draft. It's about early Baron. They rush it down so fast that all 5 G2 members cannot react in time. Banner of Command, it's ready. Splyce wanna get at least 3 to 4 turrets for themselves with this Baron buff. Possibly even an inhib with the Banner of Command.
There's a great Mikhail's actually from Xerxe to stop that Glacial Prison. Does help out quite a bit. Haunting guys now on Nisqy as well. Building up towards possible Leandries there, one of the new, well, changed items.
No longer gives that flat magic pen. Do not build it as the first item, guys. It is really not a great first item because it's all about buffing your magic damage over time when staying in combat, but it's percentages. And percentages in the early game when you don't deal a lot of damage, not the greatest. Late game, on the other hand, it is really, really good to get up till 10% extra magic damage if you stay in combat for long enough. And of course, there is that little burn of 1% of the maximum HP, so it's good against tanks. And look, Medic, there are a bunch of tanks on the other side.
Dun, dun, dun.
It's almost like he knew.
Like he read the patch notes.
All right, Odoamne, click Banner of Command, mechanics on point. Cannot take it down with the magic damage, so Azir doesn't really work against it. Hjärnan needs to be the hero. And then Wunder can use his E to try and shoot the cannon away from the turret to buy a bit of time.
Not if you put it in a bush, Deficio. You can't see it in the bush. This is the whole reason for the Ivern pick. This is why.
Use your E.
Perfect.
There,
it's in the bush. You can't see it. They're going to try and go for the hard engage, though. G2 realize they have to do something against this bush minion.
He missed it.
You just can't see it.
And Azir is useless. Protect the cannon!
Protect the cannon indeed. Xerxe goes a little bit too deep though. The redemption isn't going to heal him up. And now Splyce do need to back away because even if the cannon's doing work, the rest of them can't fight a 4v5 to re-engage. There's the quickness kaSing. Hero's entrance. G2 get demolished with
Cannon's
this
still alive.
And the cannon is still alive.
Let's go, cannon! Oh, G2, they tried to hard engage.
The redemption heals the cannon as well.
Cannon's gonna take at least an inhib. Welcome to the new meta. It is all about the Banner of Command and the early Baron. So, guys, draft for early to mid game, get a composition that can take down a Baron fairly quickly, and then build a Banner of Command around the time you get that first Baron, and then get inhibs.
So you need Ivern, Nunu, Lulu, so you can completely protect the banner minion with the bush, the Lulu shield, and the Nunu Blood Boil for the extra attack speed. And then just put something else in the other 2 roles. Maybe a Cho'Gath for the Baron secure. Cho'Gath, we're done.
Yeah,
Perfect composition.
We kind of predicted this a little bit, so Kalista got nerfed. I guess, maybe not. It is fun, though, to highlight that 16 days ago, there was a post on Reddit highlighting this exact issue when on the PvE, the Banner of Command and the Baron buff, all that kind of stuff, was changed around, and people were like, oh, this is going to be insane for sieging, almost unstoppable. 16 days later, the patch is live for LCS, and we get to watch it 3 games in a row now. So it was definitely predicted by some.
There was, originally on the PvE, there was a bug where it took down towers in 4 shots, as opposed to 8 shots. It's more balanced now, twice as many shots.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of would have liked maybe 6 shots instead of over-nerfing it to 8.
True. 8 is just too many shots.
You make it twice as bad.
G2've learned from their game against Fnatic last week. They're setting up a Fnatic bush here to try and catch out Nisqy in the top side. Maybe even get a tower for themselves.
Oh no, that would be almost too much of a reward for G2 in this game. They're waiting for good old Hjärnan to get some items under his belt. Now he's trying to play the bait. Look at this dumb AD carry. You should go catch him, right, Splyce? Then G2 waiting. Always send in the AD carry first.
Yeah, they're disposable, in my opinion. Now, the flank is on here for kaSing. Does have the quickness as well. We'll look for the blast going across the wall. Here he goes. There's the entrance. And here comes the Duck Squad onto the faces of G2. One's down. They're looking for two as well because Jankos is going to fall. Splyce, show us how it's done.
Well, that was pretty damn sick. kaSing knew he could always go in and he would get backup instantly from his team. The Rakan Galio combo, I love it. Said it 5 times already. Great pick and ban phase, great execution from Splyce, showing fantastic early to mid game in this game here. And Splyce and the rest of the team, well, ban of command. I believe it has been used, at least it is on cooldown for now, but there's no cannon here just yet. Where's our cannon at?
Check bottom wave, maybe? Maybe it's down towards that bottom side. Maybe we
Must be.
It's bottom wave.
It's bottom wave. Fine, they can take it without it. The cannon can just destroy the bottom side then. It is roughly 8 shots it needs to actually kill them if there's a Baron buff, but not in this case.
Minions are going to push in that mid lane as well. Inhibitor still down. Splyce played this mid-game incredibly well. 8,000 gold ahead at the 28-minute mark. 8 kills to 1, triple dragon to none. G2 have collapsed in the hands of Splyce.
See the fight again. It's all about kaSing and the setup. Almost no wards on the map, guys. No Tragger's Knife, that kind of stuff. kaSing will find his way in. Galio, oh, the wait. Knockup gets delayed a little bit, so it's perfectly timed with the Galio ult coming in. And there is nothing you can do if you're G2 Esports. In this new meta, if you fall behind, you can barely see anything on the map. Again, the old way you could play it as a jungler if you were behind is go out, place 2 wards, instantly recall, refresh the wards, you know, be able to at least constantly move wards around and apply a little bit extra control for your team. Much harder now when you constantly have to wait for a stupid warding trinket and the cooldown on it. And then it's only a 2-minute ward.
Yeah. That's at level 18 as well, before that scales up.
Yeah, it takes forever to get there. Jankos is only level 12.
It's only halfway to that level 18 mark. Oh, a little bit over that. 2/3 of the way. Baron up in 16 seconds. Splyce going to set up vision around it. This is something we have praised teams for a lot throughout this split. Getting wards down, clearing vision out. It's easier when the enemy team doesn't have as many wards, of course.
Yeah, definitely the division game around Baron has been simplified quite a lot. In this patch, like, oh, we killed 2 wards. That's all they got, guys. We got full control of Baron now. And then you gotta like spam control wards instead. Another engage potentially. kaSing did go for a different item than the banner.
Yeah, Zeke's Convergence.
I don't know, mate. Where's my banner?
It's good on Rakan though, because you jump in, you use your ultimate, and then you get that damage field around you that your AD carry can work with.
But where's my banner?
They've already got one. They don't need 2 banners. They've got a Baron. They've got 2 Barons, Deficio.
Also, guys, because they drafted for the early game, they got rewarded with Drakes. Those Drakes, in this case, give more damage to objectives. Oh. So, yeah, you know they can do Baron a little bit faster. Again, G2 couldn't really win the early game with this comp, and they've just kind of been destroyed.
Engage on PerkZ, and this fight is like a bad day for G2 because they're getting knocked up. Hjärnan caught out as well. He's down. Splyce gets the triple. Kobbe gets the triple, and they're looking to end the game.
This is too easy for Splyce. They execute so well in this game here. They're going to finish the game now with the Baron buff.
Such good stuff from Splyce. They're going to chase onto Wunder as well, who runs the hell out of there. He doesn't want a piece of that. First Nexus Tower is going to fall. The second will follow not shortly after. And Splyce look incredibly strong. They take 1 step closer to playoffs as they demolish G2.
We already talked about how the upcoming schedule for Splyce is not too difficult. This game was the hardest one. And they just almost perfect game G2 because they drafted for the early to mid game. They drafted a composition where Nisqy could roam. A composition where they could play around Xayah, Rakan in the bot lane at level 6, and they did. Then they got Drakes, then they got early Barons, then they built a ban of command, and Odoamne didn't misclick. He didn't click on the wrong minion, he actually clicked on the cannon with the ban of command. So, they got early inhib. And you can't get to late game anymore against this kind of thing. Unless you can always hard engage and win the fight. These who tried, but they lost that fight. And then the cannon was hidden in the brush.
Strong stuff from Splyce. I think there's a correlation between being on your podcast and winning games, because last week Reckless played incredibly well. This week...
And I keep losing bets now.
Oh, you just lost the... Oh, that's going to be amazing.
Yeah, gonna have to do...
You should explain that for people who may not have listened to the podcast yet.
Basically, by Splyce winning, kaSing was right, which means tomorrow I will be doing a great interview with him, where I may or may not have to praise kaSing a lot.
I think you may have to sing his praises entirely. We're going to have another look at the last team fight Deficio, and at this point, it's just incredibly one-sided stuff for Splyce.
Yeah, it was almost impossible for them to lose a fight at this point in the game. Once we get a team fight, unless it is a team fighting. Will Splyce fight each other? That would be weird. They just won. But it is technically a team fight then, I guess.
Okay, I have to call it out again, because apparently I didn't call it out obviously enough the first time. So we're going to have a look at
I was hoping Splyce would fight.
The replay. You're hoping Splyce would fight?
Yeah, because that would be a team fight.
Oh, that would be a team fight. That's true. Let's have another look at this.
Yeah, so kaSing plays a mean Rakan in this game. Great engage onto the Azir, and of course, G2 can't do anything. So this was a quick replay to analyze. One team is really far ahead and runs hard engage. The other team is really far behind and can't deal any damage.
And this guy.
Hey.
Early get level 4 roam from
champions, man.
Nisqy.
Roaming champions.
Who cares about lane when you're not in lane?
Oh, and G2, you know, in this draft, they felt so smart when they got Sion, Sejuani locking. They're like, haha, we got a sick front line. We got the best top laner we want here. We got the best jungler we want. What do you got? And then the enemy team was like, oh, here's Galio. And they're like, oh, wait a minute. Rakan and Galio?
It's pretty strong.
That's pretty rough to play against.
And then Ivern, Xerxe once again going for a less common pick, but something he's incredibly good at.
Yeah, sadly we didn't get to see the Daisy Sion thing, so we will probably never know what's supposed to happen.
We would never know. Deficio,
we will never know.
You're like Schrodinger's pulsar, entirely alive and dead at the same time. After the break, Drakos gets down and dirty with Yamato cannon before Vitality take on Misfits. We'll also have kaSing joining us at the analyst desk, but first, tickets are on sale for Spring Finals in Copenhagen. It's the 7th and 8th of April. You need to go and grab some tickets because they're going to sell out. Here's Deficio giving us a taste of his Danish cuisine.
Det handler om arven, hvor forfædres ære, de ofre, der smede vores land. Det handler om Valhalla, krigene kæmpede, kysterne raided. Det handler om den lidenskab og det engagement, vi dedikerer hver dag. Det handler om blodet, sveden, tårne for arven i vores store nation.